Have you ever wondered who answers the phone when you make a call to the 911 communication center? And as our nation has become more technically complex with very interdependent systems, how do agencies ensure that your message is transferred and a responder arrives at your door in just a few minutes? I'm Kathy Francis, Executive Director of the Frederick Community College Mid-Atlantic Center for Emergency Management and Public Safety. We're happy to partner with Anthem Planning Incorporated to build you a team of experts to share industry trends and expert guidance during this interview series. Welcome, Amy LePore, President of Anthem Planning. Amy?
Kathy, thanks to you and your team for having us again this week. This has been an incredible experience. Anthem serves jurisdictions across the country with complex emergency communications needs, be it in their radio communications division or in the 911 center. We have the benefit of having incredible partners, and Pat Savage from TSSI is one of those partners. Pat, welcome. We're glad to have you here today.
Well, thank you, Amy. Very glad to be here. I'd like to thank Kathy and the Mid-Atlantic Center for Emergency Management and Public Safety Programs for having me, the opportunity.
Pat, I'm going to describe a little bit about your background and then invite you to tell us a bit more about yourself. Pat has been engaged in emergency communication in a variety of ways since 1986. So he worked as a communications supervisor in the United States Navy. Pat, thank you for your service.
My pleasure, definitely.
His career positions have spanned local government, technical, and managerial positions with a Tier 1 CAD and records management systems development firm. Pat led numerous projects as a member of the internationally recognized consulting firm L.R. Kimball. And Pat, you had that in common with Josh Clemente, who we interviewed last week.
I do like working with Josh. We've continued to work outside of Kimball as strategic partners in our daily lives here. So,
excellent. We have him here to talk about public safety technology today because he has led a wide range of projects throughout his career, from implementing systems for large and complex agencies to completing facility assessments and security reviews and managing new construction of mission-critical facilities. Pat has overseen the complex interactions between technology and other critical systems in the dispatch center and has served as a client advocate during technology change. Pat is a recognized personality in this field, providing judicial expertise and expert testimony in legal matters involving public safety automated systems, several of which we'll talk about today. In addition to being president of the firm TSSI LLC, Pat serves as the director of the project management office for a mid-sized technology company doing incredible work in 911 centers across the country. Pat, welcome. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, Amy, thank you very much. As you mentioned, I started my career in United States Navy and worked as a communications technician there for 5 years. I went on from there to work in 911 in Michigan for a sheriff's department there for several years. Lucky enough to be able to transition from that to a public safety software firm, basically training and installing these systems across the country, working with dispatchers again around the country, actually internationally. Even got to do some training in Bermuda, so that's sort of a career highlight, at least from the weather standpoint. But had a lot of opportunity to work in dispatch systems, mobile systems, law records, jail management, court systems, and the like. After that, I decided to take my skills over to the consulting side of things, be able to work with the public safety agencies that I'd been installing for and training in the past, to sort of be able to help guide them through the system procurement process, what to look out for, the pitfalls of, what a vendor may try to do to, ensure that the cards are in their favor versus maybe, something that might be a little bit more advantageous to the client side. So I was happy to be able to make that kind of transition and sort of continue working in that service side of things, helping our amazing first responders across the country. So.
Excellent, Pat. Thank you.
Well, Pat, welcome, and thank you for joining us. You mentioned earlier that you have the great fortune of working with 911 dispatchers all across the country. And we know that you are incredibly supportive of the important work that they do. Tell us a little bit about what fired you up about these dedicated professionals.
Thanks, Kathy. Yes, I have gotten the opportunity to work across the country with dispatchers, telecommunicators, and it is truly an honor to be able to do it. I think it's, or at least in the past, it had been sort of an underappreciated field of public safety response in the first responder spectrum. I think it's growing as far as the understanding of the true complexities of the work that they do and the critical nature of the work that they do. I found that when I became a dispatcher, that there was really not a specific type of background that you needed to have to do that job. You weren't the military, while being useful and understanding and being able to work long hours and holidays and night shifts and all those types of things. That same experience can come from other avenues. The people I worked with, there was a school bus driver, there were grocery store clerks, there were students, and I think the common denominator with those folks isn't so much their experience or background, but the nature of their personalities. They tend to have strong personalities that sort of take charge demeanor, very good at multitasking, focused people. Really, the key trait, in my opinion, is that wanting to help, that caring about people and outcomes and concern for the first responders in the field, almost like a parent or family level relationship, really wanting to protect those that they are responsible for out in the field, that sort of caring for a family member or loved one, and a very strong sense of community and teamwork and sense of purpose. So I thought that was an excellent field to be able to work in. I'm very proud of the time that I got to do that, and I consider their service equal to any service that as it relates to the military, first responders, police officers, firefighters, EMS. I truly believe they are in that same spectrum of the first responder creed. So, having done that, I think it's often underrated that telecommunicators, the job that they do, requires them to work in high trauma situations. They're trying to triage information coming from chaos and coming from distraught parents or victims. They're trying to collect information. They're trying to give instructions, potentially life-saving instructions on the phone to hysterical people, oftentimes traumatized people, and I think they take those traumas home with them just like any other first responder. I know one of the first calls I had that involved a small child. It was a situation where it was a hysterical call. A mother found their child in the crib unresponsive. I had to try to give them instructions to ascertain what the situation was with that child. Became more and more obvious that the child was probably deceased, but yet still trying to keep the mother calm enough to be able to try to revive the child, to be able to allow responding officers and EMTs access to the residents. But I took that home with me, just like any other first responder. I had two small children at the time, and just the first I remember the circumstances of that call like it was yesterday. And just really going home and giving them a big hug and grateful that they were okay. But it's a common situation that first responders find themselves in, and I think they truly deserve the protections when it comes to salary and mental health protections that they get from that first responder designation. So,
Well, thank you, Pat. Thank you for championing our 911 dispatchers.
Yeah, Pat, well said. And while we are talking technology today, for giving voice to the scenarios that dispatchers find themselves in every single day across this country that from time to time has gone unrecognized. Thank you for bringing that forward. That was incredibly powerful. You spend a lot of time with these folks and have a handle on the large projects they're trying to implement in the center as they transition to upgraded technologies. And I know you're going to walk us through a couple of those high points, but what technology trends are you seeing in dispatch centers, and which among them are critical to the life-saving mission?
well, thanks. You're right. There is a lot of emerging technologies that are starting to integrate into the 911 centers, out from there, out into the field, the mobile technologies, the smart technologies. Some of the key trends we're seeing is FirstNet is starting to emerge. It's a program that began after 9/11, based on the communications issues of different responding agencies having different radio frequencies, the inability to communicate across jurisdictions and between services, led to sort of the FirstNet initiative, which is an interoperable communications network shared amongst first responders across the country. And it took a long time to get off the ground, but it is starting to roll out. It's starting to be accessible by first responders and public safety agencies across the country. And that's going to bring with it new technologies, and like commonly the issues that come with new technology, they're going to bring with it the problems and needs of trying to work with that technology to integrate to that technology. So that's number one, or one of the few items that we will be seeing coming forth in the new technologies. The next is next generation 911. And next generation 911 is the migration of legacy 911 systems, which originated as telephone systems, copper wires. That is being replaced now with voice over IP technology, and that technology brings with it its own problems, but it also brings with it new technologies, new requirements, and new equipment. So people are going to be needing to procure equipment that is designed to work with the next gen technologies. They're going to need the services required to integrate those systems with the other technology systems that they have. So next generation 911 is going to bring a new platform that you can integrate other technologies to. So that's another big trend in the industry. Sort of the third one is CAD to CAD has been a application that has been in the works for many years. The ability of one CAD system, computer aided dispatch system, to communicate with another agency system, whether they're the same vendor or different vendors. Well, that process has been a struggle from its the initial concepts, its originating concepts, to today. Not the most successful of applications in the computer aided dispatch technology spectrum. So there's still that push to get the communications between CAD systems, but because of the technology issues, you find that agencies are following other avenues to get that shared information, whether it be consolidation or the using the networks being provided by the next generation networks to communicate between systems. So that is also an emerging trend. With that, CAD relies heavily on Esri GIS map data, getting map data to be work together between agencies, to be having the data elements be similar so that they map from one system to the next is another challenge. So you see the heavy use of Esri and GIS data and CAD interoperability to be one of the big trends there as well. Something we've seen just in recent years is the move for vendor consolidation and technology consolidation. You're seeing these vendors start to have mergers and acquisitions. When I first started in the industry, it was sort of a mark against a vendor if they had to partner with another vendor to provide the total solution necessary for public safety. So if I had a CAD vendor and I needed law records to be part of my system, oftentimes I had to go to another vendor and try to merge those systems together and make them communicate. And that's not an easy task. So vendors that had the whole solution under their own roof was considered a positive for vendors. But now they're merging together, they're being acquired. There's just a significant reduction in the number of vendors in the field. So making the selection to get the vendor that works best for your agency becomes a lot more complex. And you really need to start looking at, are the technologies these vendors providing you technology they built themselves, or are they trying to piece together the disparate parts from different vendors that they may have merged with? So, and kind of lastly is the emergence of cloud-based systems, cloud-based software as a service, infrastructure as a service. PSAPs are interested in putting their operations out in the cloud. It is the trend across the country, in other areas, commercial areas. So, it's similar that, or it's not unusual that public safety would want to be able to use that trend as well, or leverage that capability. But it brings with it a different set of technology, a different set of skills to manage that. And it also provides, the opportunity for systems that haven't went through their growth cycle, having robust applications available. A lot of the long-term vendors that had the old client-server framework have had a lot of years to put that together. And these emerging these emerging vendors, many of them need time to build up their applications to make them as robust as some of those originating vendors in the market space. So while it's a technology that has great benefit and may apply very well to one set of agencies, it may not have the capabilities that maybe a larger agency has, or it may not have been vetted and be as reliable potentially as applications of the sort of client server base or traditional application.
Thank you for that outlook, Pat.
And Pat, thank you. Thank you for sharing all the new trends and helping us to understand the complexity of all the technologies that go into supporting a 911 center. We recognize that there's an immense amount of change in the operations of these centers. So how do you advise clients who are working toward a technology transition in the PSAP? And then a little bit more about that. What steps are the most important?
Well, thanks, Kathy. That a lot of what I advise clients, and that clients need to understand, they should begin to, or should stay current on the technology trends that are coming forth. So they should read up on next generation technology, the status of FirstNet and where it stands in the industry. So being knowledgeable about the systems that you're looking to acquire, be involved with the key trade groups and professional organizations of the trade, NENA, APCO, NFPA, CALIA, to throw out some acronyms. So, but using and understanding the technology that you want to move forward with, or you'll need to move forward with, is crucial. And along those lines, because of the ever-changing technology, no one can be an expert in everything that's coming forward and all the things that have come before it. So leveraging consultants, specialists, those services of vendors that have the knowledge and experience in those areas is crucial, to try to know and be aware of all the different concerns and issues associated with any technology or any vendor is just a large ask. So even as consultants, we specialize. With TSSI, we focus on those automated systems, CAD, law enforcement records, mobile data, jail management. But I'm not, an expert in radio systems like, say, Dylan, one of your previous interviewees. So getting the right talent for the right technology is important, and I think it should be, people should not be concerned that they feel the need to get a consultant to help them out. That would be a smart move, to get somebody that is very knowledgeable in the particular technologies that you're looking to acquire. So leverage that expertise, and oftentimes you're going to find these consultants pay for themselves multiple times over. They're going to help you negotiate your contracts. They're going to avoid the pitfalls that you may not be aware of, that will save you a lot of money in the long run, whether it be keeping your maintenance fees at a lower cost, or building in response time requirements to the technology so that your center has the appropriate level of support. So, leverage those specialists. Also, in the public safety landscape, you need to be cognizant of what's happening in your area, not just with your agency, but with surrounding agencies, other public safety police agencies, counties. what is your state doing? As an example, in Illinois, they've mandated PSAP consolidation it started at a high level, and they're mandating an even greater level of consolidation moving forward. So you're going to see trends that are being driven either at a local basis, county level, at the state level, even the federal level. So being aware of the landscape, understanding who in your area may already be going out to select the system. Maybe you'll be able to ride on that contract with them, or maybe you'll be able to look at the surrounding area and the systems they have and come up with interagency agreements for failover capabilities or failover backup centers. So knowing the landscape in your area would be very crucial to making sure you're leveraging or taking advantage of everything that you need to be when you're doing one of these agency-wide enterprise system acquisitions and implementations. And lastly, be aware of cybersecurity. So, everybody hears it in your personal life. You're keeping your information safe. You're going to have those same types of concerns related to the technology you're procuring and implementing in your centers. So, be aware of the CJIS standards, stay compliant, train your people on password management, making sure that they do, hard to crack passwords following, those federal and CJIS related standards. Dual authentications become a requirement where you have to have, two methods to authenticate and access the system. So that can be very important as well. So, and as it goes with the training as well, you want to make sure that your people understand what a phishing attempt is. Maybe do some exercises with them where you send out an anonymous email with a hyperlink in it, and use that opportunity to help train folks and make sure they're not accessing systems outside of the technology that you use. But they're also not bringing those things in, whether it be with a USB port or a connected drive or something like that. So you really have to maintain control and train for the cybersecurity requirements of tomorrow.
Thank you, Pat.
Pat, you are the third veteran we have interviewed while we were doing this series. It was unintentional, but I think it starts to speak to the importance of skills gained in military service and the importance of transitioning those into the civilian world. Can you share? I know you have talked a bit about this, but can you share with us how you found that transition and what of those skills you use now in your role with TSSI?
Yes, I appreciate the opportunity to talk to that because I think military service definitely gave me a level of preparedness for not just a role in public safety, but the preparedness it gives you to enter the workforce in general. Being a veteran, it's an interesting story. Back in the 90s, before I got out, there was a book that they gave you that said, okay, this is what you did in the military, and this is what it translates to out in the civilian world. And for the job I did, there was one option or there was one entry, and that was dispatcher. So I kind of was preordained almost by with the blessing of the military to head the route for dispatcher. Now, hindsight shows that there were any number of different things I could have done, but it's sort of the way the transition went back in those days from military out into the civilian world. But what I found is that experience in the military sort of gives you that ability, as I'd referenced before, understand the required work effort to work late hours. You're not going to get every holiday. You're going to be working late shifts. You may have to work beyond the original schedule that you have. That is common in the military. You're going to have to work under pressure. Again, very common military traits that you'll see that translate over to the public safety environment. Now, I don't believe, while it is useful, I definitely don't see it as, a key or a requirement to do, any public safety job, and especially not for a dispatcher. There are a lot of other job experiences that you have or you can get that don't come from the military. Example I gave is a school bus driver. They have to be highly vigilant, protective. They have to, be timely. Even a student. They learn to work long hours. They learn to compartmentalize so that they keep one subject and they may have to rapidly switch over to another subject based on jumping between classes. So While that's been a significant paving stone for me in my career, it isn't the only one for sure. But I definitely have benefited from that military experience just for the daily drive to make sure that you're doing a quality job. I have the opportunity to serve, whether it be through your employment or out in the community. So I think that military gives you that sense of service, and public safety gives you a great place to continue to be able to do that. So I think that's why you see a lot of military in the public safety
Your
environment.
clients have benefited from that service as well, Pat. So thank you.
Yes, Pat, and I also thank you for your military service to our nation. And I admire the fact that you have continued a career of service, and you continue to work nationwide to support citizens and the technology behind our emergency calls to ensure that they're received and they're relayed quickly and expertly, and that people can get the care and help they need. So thank you very much. To our audience, thank you for joining us. We enjoy bringing you experts in the technology field, the best and the brightest minds. Join us every Monday as we share these tips and tricks to make your agency response just that much better. Thank you.